Okay, call to order. It is May the 3rd, 4 p.m. We'll do a call to order. Roll call.
Board Member Duper, absent. Board Member Lambert.
Here.
Board Member Moore.
Here.
Board Member Olson, absent. Board Member Stuteville.
Here.
Board Member Tucker.
Here.
Board Member Thomas, absent. Vice Chairman Scheer, absent. Chairman Craig, absent.
Okay, order of business, the consent items. And they're wanting to consider the removal of these consent items, is that correct?
Is your mic, is it?
Yep.
Can you?
They can't hear on the live stream.
Okay. Hello, hello. There you go. And this is a consent to remove the items from the consent.
We're not gonna remove, we'll go to consent. You've got to approve the advisory meeting, minutes from last meeting.
Okay, approval of the meetings for the last meeting. Anyone want to approve those?
Roll call or just a motion?
No, we need a motion.
Make a motion, we approve the meeting. Second. Board meeting minutes.
Board Member Lambert? We're voting now.
Yes, I approve.
Board Member Moore?
Yes.
Board Member Stuteville?
Aye.
Board Member Tucker?
Yes.
So you can go to information items, airport director's report.
Okay.
Okay, so during the month of April, we did notice a slight drop in air traffic throughout the airport. We have been working with Titan Fuels on getting into a contract program of sorts, if you will, with NetJet's partnership with Wheels Up Aviation, some of these other corporate aircraft companies and stuff like that, to become a primary fuel stop for them. We are still in works on the negotiation aspects of those, with Titan basically taking the helm, if you will, because they have a lot of those partnerships already established with those companies. So by engaging Titan in these conversations, we're working that aspect. We have gotten letters of use agreements with NetJets already, due to our weight issues that we have, the published weights of the airport and the weights of some of their aircraft and stuff like that. However, we have worked that out with them. We do have a letter of agreement with them that state they can land these larger jets, the Global 5000, stuff like that at our airport. We are also currently working with the National Guard to get a letter of recommendation from them to be able to enter into the military contract fuel program. Now, this has been an ongoing conversation we've been having with the military. The problem is until we get that letter of intent from the military, we actually can't just jump into the DoD contract fuel program. So again, we're working on that one. We're hoping with them coming out to start doing the temporary tower at the end of this month, during that 2-week time, we'll be able to work that letter of intent with them, and then once we have that, we'll be able to enter into the military contract fuel program. If we can get into this program, it's going to be extremely beneficial for the airport, because we are a prime stop on any cross-country trips that the military may be making from East Coast to West Coast and vice versa, for any training flights they might be doing, any training operations they might be doing, items like that. So once again, we are working on that one, so that would see an increase not just in fuel sales, but also too as well as operational use of the airport. For the month of April, I put in here, we reached almost 4,000 operations for the month. However, as of Monday morning, I looked at it and we had a total of 4,367 operations for our airport for the month of April alone. That is huge. If we continue on that trend of anywhere from 3,400 to 4,000 operations a month, we're going to be well over 43,000 operations for the entire month of, or for the entire year. So that just shows how much our airport is growing and how much more use and more traffic that we are getting with it. We during the month of April, we also completed a repair project on our Alpha 3 stub. We had a large size pothole formed near the center line of it. It was almost a foot wide and about 2.5 inches deep because some of that concrete had failed there. So we had our streets department come out. They did a fantastic job. They cut out about a 5 foot wide, 5 foot wide, 50 foot long section of that pavement and repaired it all with brand new concrete. They also took out the asphalt patchwork jobs that were on that stub before because those were known to fail because you can't really put asphalt and concrete together. So we had them just go ahead and do the whole thing. So it's all brand new pavement. We were able to open it up today. The pavement's been cured well enough. So, and then once we get the taxiway marking and apron marking, we'll have that marked as well. So, but that's been fantastic for us. And again, the street department did an amazing job on it and got it done pretty quick given the weather that we had. One of the things that we've noticed with this is we've noticed that NetJet dispatchers and pilots have been on strike for most of the year. So we're kind of thinking that may have something to do with with some of the drop in traffic, because normally this time last year we had a lot of corporate and charter flights in and out of the airport, more so than we've had now. But as anybody is in the aviation industry knows, it's such a finicky industry. You can have busy weeks and you can have slow weeks. It all just depends on who's flying and what's going on. So, and with that, I'll stand for any questions.
On the temporary tower, when you say they're in 2 weeks they could be there?
So as of right now, it's projected to start May 31st through the middle of June. Right now, the National Guard is waiting for the letter of agreement from the FAA before they can publish the frequencies, before they can start any kind of operations. As soon as they get that LOA, which they're anticipating having it by this Friday. Once they have it, I will be publishing an email out to all tenants and anybody that has anything to do with the airport, letting them know what's going on. We will be publishing a NOTAM with it as well, with the frequencies and everything else, and they will be running tower operations at the airport during that time.
Are they just going to be an 8 to 5 deal, or is it going to go into the evening?
As of right now, it'll just be like a 7 to 5 or 8 to 5 type operation. They will only be able to do IFR conditions. They will not have, VFR conditions. They will not have any radars or anything for IFR conditions.
And during those times, do you know, will they just cease operations during those times, then they'll go back to normal IFR operation?
Yes, sir, that is correct. Yeah, during those times when they can't operate the tower, they'll be in the conference room conducting training with their controllers, stuff like that, running maintenance on the tower and items like that. We won't actually be changing the airspace classification either. We'll just be a towered, non-restricted airspace 4 nautical mile radius.
And they're going to do that for a couple of months only?
For about 2 weeks. And if it goes good, there's a hopefully possibility that we may be able to extend this and continue something every month down the road or something like that. So we're just waiting to see how this kicks off.
Do we give any level of service to self-service customers?
I'm sorry, say again, sir?
Any level of service to our self-service fuel customers?
In regards to...
You fly in, you park at the self-service pump, you're kind of out of sight over there. Do we go out and greet those folks?
Normally we try to get on the radio with them and ask them if they're going to need anything. Most times our pilots that come in that utilize self-serve, they kind of just say, no, we're getting self-serve and then we're off again, or something like that. Now, if they happen to step into the terminal, we ask them, hey, would you like a water? We've got coffee, popcorn, sodas, stuff like that. Do you need your windows washed or anything like that as well? So if they come into the terminal, we'll ask, but 9 times out of 10, we don't actually walk out to the self-serve to engage the customer there.
Anything else? Yeah, it's the administration, the lease renewal changes.
So in regards to this, I wanted to bring this before the board to get everybody's thoughts and input on this one. Some of the issues we have with the airport is we have some hangars that seem like they're never in use. They're leased out, but we never see any actual use on the hangars. We've rarely seen anybody open the hangar, take aircraft out, or anything like that. Now, so one of the things where we're going to be requesting is when any tenant comes in to renew their lease, we're going to be requesting a airworthiness certification for the aircraft, or if it is expired, showing that it's been expired for less than 12 months. If it's expired, we're going to ask for a timeline of when that owner of the aircraft might be able to get it back certified, or if there's maintenance ongoing with the aircraft, we're going to ask for kind of like a written out plan of, how long is this going to take to get this aircraft airworthy. The FAA has started to come down on a lot of airports lately through their hangar use policy, and they're trying to get airports to get away from just being storage units for these aircraft. Because nationwide there's an issue with long wait lists for airports. And so if somebody's got an aircraft at an airport that's in pieces, the FAA has actually started to hammer on those airports saying, hey, why is this just a rental hangar when you've got a wait list? Basically at that time it's actually considered non-aeronautical because it's just a storage unit at that point. So part of what we're going to be requesting is their airworthiness certification and or a maintenance plan given whatever condition with the aircraft is there. Should somebody come in and say, well, yeah, my plane's in pieces, I have no plans on fixing it, I don't want to fix it, I just want to store it, at that point we'll be asking the tenant to vacate the hangar so we can get that hangar out to a pilot that has a aircraft that is actively flying and operating. And I wanted to bring this before the board because having dealt with this at my previous airport, I know there's a lot of mixed feelings in regards to this. And so I wanted to bring this before the advisory board, kind of get everybody's input before I just took it upon myself to say, hey, here you guys go.
Do you know how many hangars are actually not being utilized right now?
I want to say there's at least one or two in hangar building 10 that I have not seen utilized. I want to say there's at least one that I know of in hangar building 12 that hasn't been utilized since I've been there. I've really never seen an aircraft come in and out. Then again, of course, I'm not there 24 hours, so I can't say that somebody's not coming out at night and pulling it out or whatnot. But from some of the trips we've made into some of these hangars, I've seen aircraft that are sitting in there, just a fuselage, no wings on it, no engine in it, no propeller on it, stuff like that, and never saw anything done with it. So it's just one of those things that, and again, it's just, instead of having them as storage units, we want to have them as, active pilots and stuff like that.
So where do you propose they go? Kick them out. It's an airplane. Where are they going to go?
At that point, it would be on the aircraft owner. I don't have an answer for that.
Do you inspect the hangars to see if they're being utilized as storage units or there's airplanes in them?
We are actually going to work on putting together a annual inspection that we're going to start conducting at the airport as well. I'm working on the paperwork for that to bring before the advisory board for that, but I do intend on starting an annual inspection of the hangars to make sure that they're meeting, the regulations and stuff like that. Make sure nobody's has anything in there they shouldn't have in there. And it's not a sign of distrust on the tenants at all. It's just a matter of making sure that the airport itself is covering itself in case we do get a visit from the FAA and they want to start conducting the inspections.
Yeah. It's full of classic cars, I get it.
Right.
It's full of a broke down airplane that the guy had worked on a year. It seems kind of heavy handed to me. Kind of rent.
Yes, sir.
I see both sides of the argument, but what are you going to do with an airplane?
Yeah.
Right. No, and I do understand that.
Park in your driveway until the code enforcement shows up again.
Yes, sir. I mean, I know there have been suggestions that I've heard before about, You know, if we didn't have a hangar wait list, then we could approach that tenant and say, okay, look, we can convert this hangar to non-aeronautical use. You'd be able to have the pieces in here for up to a year, but they would have that year to figure something out. And I'm not saying we would immediately kick the pilot out. I'm not saying that at all. We wouldn't just come down and say, hey, move it or lose it. Not at all. You know, we would work with the individual pilots in that on a case-by-case basis and say, okay, if you want to put the plane back in working condition, we're more than happy to work with you. We just want a maintenance plan, if you will, to move forward. Now, if it's one of those things that we get a pilot that comes down and say, okay, we'll give you 6 months. You want to part it out, you want to relocate it, you want to sell it, stuff like that. I know there's a lot of airports in the surrounding area that are going through the same thing. I know McKinney's gone through and they're kind of doing an expulsion, if you will, of a lot of their tenants that are basically in the same situation. So.
I think it'd be worse than what Ada and Ardmore, Hugo, and those places go.
No, I just use them as an example. You know,
It's an airport.
Roger.
As long as the hangar, paying the rent, you aren't gonna kick them out.
Right, but if they're just using it as a storage hangar, at that point, then it becomes an issue because.
Are you talking storage as in storing the airplane or storing other items other than airplanes?
Storing other items in conjunction with the aircraft. So the FAA hangar use policy, I'm sure everybody's aware of that, is very finicky in how it's worded, and that's something that the FAA is actually working on fixing. Because we went through this conversation when I was in Hearst at the conference down there. It is one of those things that their definition of aeronautical use is the uninhibited access of the aircraft in and out of the hangar. So if you have an aircraft in a hangar and you park a car or you put a bookshelf in front of one of the wings and now you have to move those items, then that is actually classified as non-aeronautical use at that point. Even though you're storing an aircraft in there, it's still classified as non-aeronautical use. So if there's an aircraft up in there that's up on, you know, stands or whatnot, completely torn apart, and you can't freely move it in or out, then that's actually constituted as non-aeronautical use. And right now, because we have a wait list, the FAA would severely frown on us if we try to classify any of our hangars as non-aeronautical use.
That's going to be touchy.
I'm sure the FAA's got a good definition. So,
Roger.
if it's full of classic cars, I get it.
Right.
If it's full of household furniture, and I don't think we have an issue. If it's a guy's airplane that hadn't flown in a year, for whatever reason, that's another issue.
Right, and again, it's not like I'm going through and going to be kicking everybody out if they've got a plane in pieces. It's more just, okay, do you have plans on getting it up and working, or are you just storing it just because you don't have anywhere else to put it, or maybe they're holding on to it for their grandchild or something like that. I mean, and again, it's a case-by-case basis. The airport would be more than happy to and willing to work with individual tenants. It's just one of those things that if somebody just straight up comes out and says, I'm not going to work on it, I'm not going to put it together, it's going to sit there in pieces until I decide what to do with it. I'm sorry, but from my perspective, yes, I understand they're paying hangar rent on it, but at the same point in time, that's a hangar that we could have an active aircraft operating out of, as opposed to just being used to store it. And that's my concern, and that's why I wanted to have this, start taking these steps to start working towards that, of getting active aircraft out at the airport instead of just storage.
How active is their waiting list?
We are at 19 individuals right now on our wait list for hangars. Some of them have been on there since 2020. And they're still waiting for a hangar. They have it at other airports, but they really prefer to get it here in Durant because some of them are local individuals.
Do they get a priority if they live in Durant, America?
The order they're on the wait list is the order that I go in when we offer hangars. And so.
How many hangars total do we have?
We have, I believe it's 42 total hangars at the airport, and that is including our corporate hangars as well. 42 city-owned hangars. I know we've been working on trying to recruit individuals in to try to build additional T hangars and box hangars and stuff like that so we can try to get additional. We've been looking at grant programs and things like that that we might be able to utilize federal funds or some kind of other funding source to help the city build more hangars. But at the time, it's just the money's just not there in several aspects for some of these hangars, given some of the other projects that we have going on at the airport.
How did we fund the last?
I'm sorry, sir?
How did we fund the last time we built?
I am not sure on that one. I'd have to look at that.
Grant, didn't they? Didn't they use federal funds on that?
So I know it was a utility bond that was utilized to build the terminal, and I believe the South Apron area, and that might have been what they did with the hangar, was possibly a utility bond, but I'm not 100% sure on that. I'd have to look at the records and see how it was built.
How many hangars are multi-aircraft?
Some of our box hangars, you can get 2 aircraft in as long as they're a high wing and a low wing, but then you're overlapping. And we do have several individuals out at the airport that are sharing hangars, if you will. They're both sharing on the rent, they're both sharing on the space and things like that. But it just depends on the size of aircraft that are currently in the hangar. Now, our corporate hangars, obviously, they are, bigger hangars, so they can handle more aircraft. But our box and our T hangars are pretty much just 1 aircraft. They won't fit anything more in there. But our box hangars, most of them can get 1 or 2 aircraft in them, depending on the size.
When you say corporate, are you talking about the ones in that, the big ones?
Correct. Yes, the 4 big ones where Magnolia, Mid-Continental Aviation are, and entities like that.
Oh,
Those are our corporate hangars.
not the big one.
No, not the big. No, sir, not those big.
The maintenance stuff is.
Yes, sir.
That 42 doesn't, you're not counting David Bray and Duford, the one they got leased, right?
The large red hangar, no, sir. That should be that should only be buildings 4, 8, 10, and 12, and 24.
What is our rent compared to our neighbors?
We're actually pretty much right on the lower end, as opposed to our surrounding areas. I believe, last I heard, North Texas Regional was almost $1,000 a month or something like that on some of their hangars. They're a little bit bigger than ours right now, but we're pretty much median. I mean, we haven't increased prices, and as of right now, I don't plan on increasing the prices until I can complete some more of the upgrades, high bay lights, items like that we're working at doing on some of these. I have plans to try to redo some of the flooring pavement in some of these hangars, get rid of some of that old gravel that's starting to peel up, and the old asphalt and stuff like that that's starting to get soft and peel away and sink in, replace it with concrete down the road and stuff like that, try to do some upgrades. But as of right now, there's no intent on raising hangar rates at this time.
Okay, potential for security upgrades.
So with this one, I'm sure everybody can agree that we do have some security issues at our airport currently. I know there's way too many people, in my opinion, that know our access code to the gate. We don't really have anybody in the city anymore that knows how to change our access code or anything like that. I can't even tell you how many people have garage door clicker access to that gate that they could just click a button, open it, and drive through. I don't know. So I've been looking into several different security upgrades for the airport. We are still looking at a security fence to go around the entire perimeter of the airport, but that is a high dollar project that will take a little bit of time to come to fruition. In the meantime, one of the aspects that I'm looking at doing is our main drive-through gate there on the north end of the airport over by the pickling plant. I'm looking at removing that keypad access there and putting in a gate card access podium there. We will put a camera system in place there as well to monitor all traffic in and out of the gate. The gate card access, we would print. Part of my thought process on this is to have it to where the airport would get a card printing machine there. We would print the cards, work with IT to have them coded, and then the airport would be able to hand those out, get those out to all the individual tenants and everything else like that. Each tenant would be authorized 2 cards, and if they needed additional cards, that would be handled on a case-by-case basis. Also, to any businesses that have dealings with the airport, UPS, FedEx, stuff like that, that would be on a case-by-case basis. Any businesses that are currently at the airport would be authorized one gate card per employee. And what this does is this allows the airport to better track who all has access to our airport with these gate cards. Also, too, we would be able to eliminate, if we have anybody that decides to leave the airport for any reason at all, we would be able then to deactivate their access card. We would also be able to monitor if anybody's tailgating in and out of the airport. This would also help to eliminate a lot of the unnecessary dumping that is going on out at the airport into our roll-off that we're currently dealing with. Some of our staff at the airport have chased off in the past several individuals that we've never seen at the airport. We don't know who they are, anything like that, and all they're doing is coming out and dumping their household trash because sometime they got access to the airport and they've just kept it. So we're working on that. Also, too, this would eliminate the ability of individuals with race cars to actually drive onto the air side of the airfield, and we would have them stay on the outside if they were looking for any fuel or anything like that.
Are there going to be any, most airports, if you got ramp access, they have to go through some type of training on being around airplanes. Are they going to do that, or are they just going to give out cards to everybody that's there?
No, sir. We would have a movement area training, a small movement area training guide that we would issue out to all tenants, have them read it, sign it, say they understand it. It would then go with your lease agreement. So if there was any issue and we had a tenant come back and, well, I was never told about this, we could pull that form out and say, no, right here it's stated you signed it, that you read it and understood it. And so that way everybody's kind of familiar with where they can drive, where they can't drive, items like that. Or if they go into a movement area, what kind of equipment they need on that vehicle to enter that movement area. That would all be handled on that. There would also be a basically gate card application form that we would have filled out by the tenants for those cards that would go on file as well. Every gate card would actually have the tenant's photo on it, so it'd kind of be like a photo ID. If you will, it'd look almost something like our city IDs, if you will. It would have the airport, the airport design on it and everything else. It would state the tenant. They would have an expiration date, whether it be 2 years, 4 years, something like that, depending on the tenant or if it was a business or something like that. Initially, my first thought process was $25 for the initial card, $5 for any additional card on top of that. And that's mainly to help cover the cost of the cards, the cost of the equipment, items like that. Again, it's just initial. This is something that I'm approaching and wanted to get the advisement of before we started making any actual changes at the airport. But so, unfortunately, I don't have that number in front of me. It's on my desk at the office. I can get that and email it out to all the members if you'd like and let you know what the cost of the system is. I believe it was a little over $1,000 for the system, for the card printer, if I remember correctly. And then the camera itself is, I believe it's about $800 for the camera itself. And then the card system implementation, stuff like that, I believe is about another $1,000, $1,200, somewhere around there. I'd have to get all the numbers for you, and I can get them to you relatively quick if you'd like. But again, also too, this is to cover the cost too, to have the IT department helping us to code them and everything else. And again, $25 isn't a firm number. It's just something that, in all reality, this is a system that we utilized at my old airport up in New Mexico for the airport, and it seemed to do very well. It kept the airport very secure and things like that, and it was just something I figured I'd copy and bring before the board and get your opinions. If somebody's got a different idea for the cost of it, I'm always willing to take a look at things differently. It's just, this was just the initial thought process that I had in regards to these cards.
Do we still have cameras on the FBO?
We do on the FBO, and that is it. We can't see anything on the north or south side of the airport. We have minimal view of the road leading up to that drive-through gate. Like, I can tell a vehicle's approaching, but I can't tell anybody that's driving it. I can't tell what they're doing. And once they get up to the actual gate itself, I can't tell what they're doing at that point. So this camera system that would be over there on the gate would help to alleviate that, and it would help to stop any kind of issues that may arise down the road at the airport. So.
We don't know how much is going on at night at this point in time.
Correct, unless they're around the terminal or they're right there on that south side of the big large red hangar or any of the other hangars. I can't tell you what anybody's doing at the airport. I can't tell you if somebody's out there trying to take a sheet panel off the hangar to get into the hangar to mess with anybody's aircraft, messing with vehicles. I can't tell any of that. I can't even tell if they're going up to our Jet A tank and messing with our Jet A tank until we go out there the next morning and look at it.
Does the PD did they ever go through there, checking?
Random times throughout the night. I believe it's 1 or 2 patrols throughout the night. They may come out there. Southeastern does it as well. Their police department comes out there maybe once a night or something like that on just a routine patrol. I've been out there sometimes at night when I've seen them come out, and all they really do is they just drive down the road, loop around the traffic circle, and head back out. They don't actually go onto the airfield. They don't look at anything, so it's kind of on us to monitor it and things like that. We have had a noticeable increase in transient vehicle traffic and foot traffic starting to come across the airport a lot more. We've had individuals that thought that Davis Road was a quick cut through to get to the casino. So we've actually had to go onto the east side of the airfield, onto the old pavement section, stop the vehicles there, have them turn around and leave. We've gotten...
Drive on from the east side?
I'm sorry, sir?
They drive onto the airfield from the east side?
Yes, sir, they can. There's a dirt road that connects Davis Road onto our old pavement section over there.
Fence around the whole thing?
We should at least stop that.
So normally in the evening time after wastewater leaves, that gate over there is closed and locked, so they normally can't. But if it's during business hours or anything like that, we get them across. Now, on that same token, though, we do have a lot of foot traffic that does walk across the airport and stuff like that. I know myself, I've made a couple trips out to interject with people out there and intercept them and advise them, hey, you can't just walk across the runway willy-nilly. This is not public access out here. You need to go back that way. Public access is the terminal. And if you got business out here, you can be on the ramp side, but if you don't have business on the airport, you don't really need to be ramp side. And at that point, we either escort them off or we follow them to make sure they leave.
Part of our unhoused community, or they just...
Some of them are just walking through to get from point A to point B, and they just think it's a quick access to cut across the airfield. A lot of them just don't understand the dangers of walking across the runway when we've got heavy traffic flowing. I mean,
It seems like we need to sign that or something over there if we got the gates standing open. We need to put some signage out that this is a non-entry point.
correct. And we do have some out there actually, but a lot of times they just don't pay attention to them. They don't see them or they don't think. We stopped one vehicle that came through that actually didn't even see the sign that was over there, and it was right on the side of the gate. And he said he didn't even see the sign. So, but I'm sorry?
I need a bigger one. Flashing lights or something.
One right there by Hunchback, like one of those big signs they got there by the Hunchback Bridge.
I mean, it seems like there's other ways to improve security other than making it harder for us to come and go all the time.
Right, and that's not what this is for. I mean, it's just one of those things that you'd be able to pull up, you scan your gate card, the gate opens, you drive through. Our current system, it is an older system. We've noticed we're starting to have more issues with the code being entered in to get access. I myself have had several times where I've driven up to that thing and I've had to put the code in about 4 or 5 different times before the gate will finally open. So at some point that system's going to fail. and it's gonna have to be replaced. And I'm trying to work on that now rather than later when we're all of a sudden in a very bad way, and we already and we don't have any access, and we have to manually open the gate or close the gate or something like that, so.
Else? Any new business? Motion to adjourn.
Second. I'll make a motion. You guys did a great job, by the way.
Thank you,
gotta
sir.
take,
Level of service you did.
we gotta take a vote. Board Member Lambert? Board Member Moore?
Yes.
Board Member Stoopdale? Board Member Tucker? Vice Chairman Shear?